Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Cars and Coffee. And if you're a car guy and like performance, you're in the right place. We've got some interesting topics today. I might point out that what I talk about comes from the Speed Therapy Society group. So if you're not a member, please join. It's a great group of like-minded people with performance, and all the questions that I talk about come from that group. Or you can send in questions live. I mean, I'll try to answer any questions you send in live. I'll try to answer. But I'm Kenny Brown, and for the next hour or so, I'm going to try to share my 40 plus years of experience in professional motorsports and building just top of the line performance cars and championship winning race cars. And today's subjects, it kind of changed a little bit during the week as I was preparing. We're going to talk about the IRS and the Cobra. I kind of shifted what I'm going to talk about, and I'll get to that a little bit later. But let's see, we've got something to show you. We've got our new first production run of our new jacking rails for the S550 Mustang, which are kind of unique. And we're going to talk about we're going to do IRS. We're going to talk about that later, and it's going to be kind of cool what I decided to come up with. So Carrie said we should have a few new people with us today. So if you're just joining us for the first time, I've been around for a really long time, building cars and winning national championships at the professional level. And I like sharing my knowledge. I mean, I can't take it with me. So I like sharing my knowledge, and we have Cars and Coffee on Saturday mornings. And then we've got the Speed Therapy Society, which is like-minded people. And anything that I talk about that we post is posted into the Speed Therapy Society under the resource section. And then we also have the Speed Therapy Academy, which is turning out to be a really cool deal too. So that's, everybody knows my notes. Carrie gives me my notes, and I'd be lost without them. And I always screw it up anyway. So at least I have something to work from. Let's see, going through it. Okay, Cars and Coffee. Oh, every week at 10 a.m. Eastern, and on Facebook Live, and then also on Kenny Brown YouTube channel. And some of the things that we've talked about in the past, like last week, we talked about reducing wheel hop in IRS, also how and when to measure ride height, and then cold air kits. This week, page, we're going to start with this. It's kind of cool the way this worked out, because two questions came from the society, and I kind of come combining them into both, and they're going to feed into the whole IRS story. But I think I forgot this week's art from let's see, this week's artwork from my collection of motorsports art is called Formation Finish Le Mans 1966. It's another piece by Nicholas Watts. I've got quite a few of his works, and it's pretty cool. He was at Le Mans just a few weeks back. It's one of my great pictures. So the picture for the month is Formation Finish, and that's what they did in 66. They got all the GT40s lined up for the end. So that's kind of a cool picture. Okay. And there's me, and there's my trusty toolbox of 40 plus years. It's been to every major racetrack in North America. So getting to the questions for this week, Jim Hull asked, what's faster, a Kenny Brown CSR OT Cobra or a Kenny Brown GT4 RS? Well, the short answer is the RS, but we're going to get to why. And then Jeff asked a question that kind of feeds right into it. He said, which is heavier, the SN95 Cobra or the S197 Mustang? So I started on a path with that. And I put together kind of a quick chart, and Carrie will share it with us in a minute. But what I did is I went through SN95, 197, and 550s and put the models, the weight, and the power to come up with a power to weight ratio. And I can't testify this is all 100% accurate information. I got it from different sources, but it should be close. The weight and horsepower should be close. And if Carrie, you can pop that up. We'll Okay, Carrie says keep talking. She's not ready to pop it up yet. anyway, going down. So first, what was the CSR OT? The CSR OT was a car I built back in 2003 for Jeff Victor Ford in Wakanda, Illinois. So he could run at Audubon. And it was a 2003 Cobra 2003 Cobra supercharged, and we turned it into a CSR OT. And that was going to be the subject, because what I did back then, I wrote a whole great big article on builder's notes on how and why I built the car and everything that went into it and why it worked so well. But as I was putting this together, I thought, that's not the fastest IRS Cobra that it did. The fastest one was Kermie, my 2001 SEMA car. It was brilliantly fast and just amazing to drive. And we'll get to that in a second if Carrie can come up with the sharing. More technical difficulties. Okay, I'll run down the numbers. And on power to weight, what you're looking for, the lower the power to weight, the quicker the car, because the lower the number. The number is how much weight 1 horsepower has to push. So if it's a low number, the car is going to be quicker. So just going down the SN95s, the 2001 SVT Cobra, weight 3430, 320 horsepower. So it's got a power to weight of about 10.7. Now the CSR OT that we built, that was 3665 pounds. And 390 horse, which is a power to weight of 9.4. We also threw in there Cobra R's, because we did a lot of Cobra R's. And I saw Joe here this morning. He had one of them. In the end of one season, I can't remember which one it was, but after the last driving event at Putnam, we had 5 Cobra R's, 2000 Cobra R's in our shop, all to be upgraded with all my suspension stuff. And they were just amazing cars when I got done. And like I said, I saw Joe here. He had one of those, and he wished he had it back. So the Cobra R was 3589, 385 horsepower, power to weight 9.3. Now Kermie, you got it? Ta-da! Okay, can you make it bigger? Gives me a chance to have some coffee. This is Cars and Coffee. So there's the cars and here's the coffee. There we go. Okay, that's better. I'm going to run it. Also, just as an FYI, we're going to put this chart into the resource section of Speech Therapy Society. So if you'd like to print it off for yourself, it's going to be there, or as a reference point. So where I left off was after the Cobra R at 9.3 was Kermie, my CSR. It was 3350, 385 horsepower and 8.7 power to weight. And that car was brilliantly fast. It was just amazing to drive. I could put it anywhere on the track. And so after I did this and thought about that, I thought, I should include Kermie in talking about the building the ultimate IRS Cobra. So what I'm doing is the builder's notes that I had for the CSROT, I'm going to rewrite and we're going to change it so that I include some of the other, like the, no, I can talk. They can look at that. I'm going to include the Cobra R's and Kermie and do sort of an expanded builder's notes. And what I said earlier, we were planning to do kind of like a little mini workshop for the CSR Cobra this week. But after doing this, I thought, I've got a lot more information that I can squeeze in just a half an hour or so. So what we're going to do, you can put me back on so I can talk to people. And does it work? I'm back. Okay, here's what I decided to do. I'm going to do just a specific workshop for building the Ultimate Cobra. And it's not going to be on like Facebook like we do this. I don't want to do it in Cars and Coffee because it's too much information. So what I decided to do is we're going to have like a workshop on Wednesday evening on Zoom, which is a lot more personal. People can interact. And the reason I'm doing that is with the Speed Therapy Academy. every other Wednesday is what we call a master class, where we'll have guest speakers come in and speak for a half hour and then answer questions. So I'm going to do this on a Wednesday evening, just like it were a master class in Speed Therapy Academy. And I said it's going to be on Zoom, so people can interact pretty easily. And the date is Wednesday, the 14th of October. So, and there's going to be a place to sign up, I think, to register. And what will happen is we get close to it, you'll get an email with the little link thing, so you link into Zoom. So I thought that'd be a lot better. I can spend more time talking about it. Plus, it'll be just like one of our Speed Therapy Academy classes where people are on Zoom, so you'll be able to ask me questions as we go along. So I'm pretty excited about that. I think it's going to be a lot better than just a little half-hour session talking about the RS Cobras. Because I mean, I built some great Cobras. I mean, I still think they're one of my favorite cars, and we still support 99 to 04 Cobras with suspension because I think we've got the best. So anyway, going down, I mean, Kermie was 8.7 power to weight, but it's not just the power to weight; it's how well the car worked. I mean, it just worked really well. Moving into the S197s, can we put our chart back up? See how this works again. I guess I need to sip some coffee. Well, I need to maybe I kind of like wave off to the side when I want the chart put up. It's missing again. Okay, I'll read it off of mine. S197 Mustangs, a 2005 GT, 3614 on weight, 300 horsepower, power to weight ratio of 12 to 1. 11 GT, like with the Coyote motor, they're like 3705, 412 horsepower. And that's the power to weight of 9 to 1. Now the Boss, 3483, 444 horsepower. That gives you a power to weight of 7.8, which is why the Boss cars are so fast. Now 2010 GT 500 is 3918 in weight and 540 horsepower. So that's 7.3 power to weight.
Here we go.
Oh, it's back. Yep. Okay. Yep, there's a great big thing in the bottom.
I'll get rid of that.
Okay. It's just blinking back and forth. Time to sip coffee. Everybody take a sip of coffee.
Oh, Carrie.
Why don't you just drop it off?
I'm trying to.
I'll keep talking. Anyway, going down the, see that we got the Boss and the Shelby GT 500 was 3918, 540, so 7.3 power to weight. The 13 Shelby GT 500 was 3817, 662, so that's got a power to weight of 5.8, which is theoretically really fast, at least really fast in a straight line. Here we go. Okay. But then we had Ruby, another one of my favorite cars, my 2012 GT4 RS, which was about 3,700 pounds. It had a Coyote Boss motor in it, 510 horsepower and 7.3 power to weight. And that car was really, really quick. And it was, again, another car that you could put anywhere. It had amazing speed, amazing brakes. I chased down a lot of really cars that should be much faster than Ruby, but wasn't a challenge. We had one video at Road America where I was carrying so much speed off of turn 14 for the straightaway, I had to back out of the throttle to keep from running into a Viper. And as soon as I got by, I ran past him and held him off all the way down the straightaway. And I think a lap or two later, I outbroke a GT3 Porsche RS into turn 5. So I mean, that was a really fast car. So the power to weight ratio is only part of the equation. I mean, if power to weight is in a straight line, that's where you're going to see power to weight work, if you can get the power to the ground. So the GT 500 with its 5.8 power to weight ratio theoretically is really fast. However, with Ruby, my car with a 7.3 power to weight ratio, like at tracks like Road America, was much, much quicker. And the reason is with the AGS 0.4 suspension in S197, I mean, I get to the gas so much sooner. I mean, it's the car brakes later and rotates quicker, and I get to the gas sooner. So I'm to the gas by the time I hit the apex. I'm full throttle, so I'm getting a big launch off the corner, and that's what you get. You get the faster you get off the corner, the faster you're going to be in the straightaway. And I would pass GT 500s all the time on the straight between turn 3 and turn 5 at Road America, just because I'm getting the power down. I'm carrying a lot of mid corner speed, a lot of exit speed. And with all the power and torque that they have, well, first of all, they got a lot extra weight in the front, which makes them just a little more sluggish to turn and a little harder to brake compared to like a Ruby. And they have to wait to get to the throttle, because if they put the gas down, they're going to spin the rear tires. Well, I'm full throttle before I get off the corner. So power to weight is only part of the equation. I mean, you've got to have the platform underneath to make it all work.
I was able to get 2017 showing up before it wasn't.
Okay, so we can move into the 550 cars now. 17 GT, 3,700 pounds, 435 horsepower, 8.5 to 1, which is pretty good. And then a 19 GT with the better motor is with the again 3705 at 460 horsepower was 8 to 1. The Shelby GT 350 at 3750 and 526 is 7 to 1. But then we've got Maryland, the really cool GT4 CSR that I built for a customer down in Arizona, and that ended up being 3,600 pounds. We took some weight off of it, and about 560 horsepower naturally aspirated for power to weight 6.4. But again, that was only part of the equation. I mean, it was an amazing car to drive. I mean, it had everything. We had the big six piston calipers and 15-inch rotors on the rear, and on the front we had the monster. I mean, the monster are mega brakes with the calipers 15 inches tall. GRZ double adjustable remote canisters. We had some aero on it, carbon hood. I mean, the car was just amazing to drive. Also, we had like forged line wheels and 305s on the front and 315s in the back. I mean, the car was just blazingly fast and just a ball to drive. So power to weight is only part of it. It's like you've got to get that power to the ground, and you've got to be able to manage it. So that's why there's, so getting back to the original question, what was quicker, the CSR OT or the GT4 RS? GT4 RS hands down. And that was a much, much quicker car because, again, the CSR OT was supercharged, which meant it had a much heavier front end, which makes it look you can't brake as deep as I could. And it's kind of sluggish around the corner. And then I'm off the corner faster. So, I mean, just having a lot of power doesn't necessarily mean the car is going to be quick, which is I always, I mean, anybody that's been with me for a while, we know I just push the performance platform. It's all about what's underneath the car first. I mean, the real speed comes from the platform. Certainly you need an engine, but I mean, the real speed, like I just say, I mean, I can blow past GT 500s with a GT just because I'm carrying more speed through the corner. So, I mean, the better question should have been which was faster, Kermie, the 2001 CSR, or Ruby, the GT4 RS. It's kind of like they would be pretty close because, I mean, Kermie was, quite a bit lighter, didn't have as much power. I mean, the power to weight was a little bit more, 8.7 versus 7.3. But I mean, they would be pretty close as far as quickness. I think overall, especially on bigger tracks, Ruby with the Coyote motor, would kind of rule the day, even though it had a live axle. But again, our live axle cars work really, really well. We've got for those that haven't been with us, there's only 3 pieces to my S197 suspension: the rear grip kit, front grip kit, and the springs and shocks, and they work really, really well. So that kind of answers 2 questions at once. And again, this will be on the in Speed Therapy Society in the resources, so that you can, if you want, you can reference it or print it off if you want. Here's another one of my notes, because least he's not waving at me this time. Okay. If you're just joining us, I'm Kenny Brown. This is Cars and Coffee, and we're spending about an hour here answering your questions and talking about things you want to know about, and sharing my super vast experience for the last 40 years of professional motorsports and building really cool cars. And also send your questions in. I mean, I'm more than happy to answer questions live as they come in. I don't know if we've got any questions in yet. So we'll get to them in just a minute. I think what I want to do is we'll go through. I'm going to just kind of see. I have to look at my notes. Everybody knows that it's been with me for a while. I'm just going to kind of give just a brief coffee time. Oh, I mean, we have a new product. We just did the first production run of jacking rails for the S550 cars, 17 and newer. And it took us a while because there's kind of you're looking underneath the car, putting a jacking rail in. Now with all the previous cars, we've got a jacking rail for the Gen 1 Mustangs, Fox, SN95, and S197. All those cars, we've got horizontal and vertical surfaces that we can use to mount the jacking rails, which makes it really easy. Under the 550, no such thing exists. In fact, though, the one place that makes the most sense that you can use a bolt-in jacking rail is at a 5-degree angle. So if you just bolt like a square piece of tube in there, it's going to be at an angle and not flush on the bottom. Now, a lot of people out there they're either doing that where they just bolt at an angle, or some are doing tube and then welding just a flat piece on an angle at the end. And I didn't like any of that. So we kind of put our heads together, and what we came up with is rather than like steel tube, we have a fabricated jacking rail. And fabricated, what I mean is we take cut sheet out of a big sheet of metal, we cut the pieces and we form them. And what we end up with, can you see that? Here we go, is we build in the 5-degree angle right into the top. So it's going to sit flush on the bottom. So yeah, it's completely different from anybody else. So like I say, it's fabricated. Start with a great big sheet of steel, laser cut it, and then form it. And then here it is. I kind of like, this is kind of what it looks like. I can't get it all in one shot. Right into the wall. Turn it this way. Anyway, you can really see there's a really good shot of how it's not flush. It's a trapezoid, and we're pretty happy with it. We think it's going to work extremely well. I mean, it's certainly a lot tighter than anything else that's out there. So that just came out of production this week. They'll be, I think they're on our website now. So the first production run, I think it might almost be sold out, but I don't know. So if you've got a 550 one, really, really cool jacking rails, we've got them now. Okay. So this is the original builder's notes I did for the CSROT. And just to kind of give you a brief overview, and this is going to be expanded to include other of my IRS Cobra cars. And even if you don't have an IRS Cobra, I think you probably learn a lot in the workshop, or I hope you learn a lot in the workshop. Even if you learn a little in the workshop, it's still of good value. But when I start talking about the CSR background, and then I go into anybody who's been with me knows it's always the power foundation. I mean, you gotta have a power foundation, performance foundation, whichever you want to call it. And there's 5 secrets to my power foundation: chassis, suspension, wheels, tires, brakes. You get all of them right, and all of a sudden you got a car that really, really works. So what I do is I go through the performance foundation for the IRS Cobras, and I talk about the chassis, and then I talk about the advanced AGS is something I coined as my advanced geometry suspension systems. And for the SN95 for the regular live axle SN95s. That was AGS 3.0. Of course, the third generation. First generation was the 87 Saleen Championship Saleen Mustangs that I engineered and built and managed at 4 national championships. That was AGS 1.0. Even though it's supposed to be shoulder stock racing, trust me, we had different geometry than anything else, but you couldn't tell. There was sometime I'll tell you the secret to that. So that was Gen 1, and then 2 we added like the fixed strut. And then in Gen 3, we added, came out with the tubular K-member in the front with AGS geometry. And then 3.5 was with the IRS. So what we're going to be talking about is advanced geometry suspension Gen 3.5. And I'll talk a little bit about how that all came about. Oh, I got a couple of pages on that. And then I'll break down the suspension parts, why they do it, what they do, why they do, and why I chose to do it that way. And with the cars that I build, it's like if I can't find what I'm looking for in the marketplace, I'll just build it. I mean, that goes back to my years and years of motorsports. I mean, you need something, just build it. So I just kind of carry that forward, and I talk about how and why I do things. I mean, I don't do anything I don't build anything that just is cool and pretty and just replaces a factory piece. Everything that I design and build has a function and improves something in the geometry. So I'll go through the front suspension, the rear suspension, and then brake packages. Brake packages have changed since I first did this. So we'll talk about brakes, and then wheels and tires. This is almost like a mini version of the Speed Therapy Academy. We'll talk about some wheels and tires, and then part of the performance foundation is like the differential. And the back of the car, let's see, cooling. We'll go through cooling. Cooling is important. The more power you make and the faster you go, the more heat you generate. And the more heat you generate, the more heat you got to get rid of. Otherwise, bad things happen. So we'll talk about heat management and cooling, all the way down to like brake ducts. And the thing about brakes, and we'll talk about brake pads too, because people don't realize what brake pads are. Brake pad is an energy conversion implement, because a Mustang going down the track 120 miles an hour, that's kinetic energy moving at a pretty good clip. And the only way there's a couple of ways to to slow or stop the car, tree, wall, guardrail. Those aren't really the preferred method. The preferred method is using your brakes. And what your brakes do is they take the kinetic energy of that mass, that 3,800 pound mass running down straightaway, and they convert it to heat energy. And that's why brake pads are so important. You got to be able to get the right pads. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about cooling. A little bit about the interior, what I do in the interior as far as seats and harnesses. Let's see, and then the cars that I build are all serialized, and it's kind of interesting. There's over like 500 serialized Kenny Brown Mustangs out there, and just recently, all of a sudden, we've seen a lot of Fox Mustangs popping up, Kenny Brown Fox Mustangs. People calling to get information, so we have to go in the archives and dig up the serial number and give them information, which is really kind of cool. I mean, I love seeing these old cars come back to life. And we even, speaking of old cars come back to life, a friend of mine over in Ohio he now owns both of the 86 Saleen Mustangs that I built, which kind of started the whole big Saleen career thing. With the one that won the 24 hours of the backup car won the 24 hours of Canada, and then he was able to get the body, I think number 9, and he's rebuilding that. So that's going to be pretty cool. So that's kind of what we're going to go through. It's going to be like a real condensed mini version of the Speed Therapy Academy, where we really dive into each individual subject. And like I say, I thought Wednesday evening would be much better than trying to squeeze that in on a Saturday in Cars and Coffee. Have I missed anything?
No, If people like what they're hearing, if they can hit the like
Oh
button.
yeah, I forgot. I always forget something. Please hit the like button on Facebook or on YouTube.
Do you want me to go through it?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Yeah, if you like what Kenny's sharing, if you can please click the like button in Facebook, and if you're on YouTube, do the same. We're live, simulcasting live on both YouTube and Facebook. If you can't catch it live, you can always catch all the episodes on YouTube, the Kenny Brown Performance YouTube channel, and we're at 29 episodes now.
Yeah, who'd have believed it? We did this. This kind of started with I did 2 Saturdays. I just kind of did answer a few questions, and this has kind of like grown into a whole series, if you wish. So, well, she's relocating the control panel up to here so I can hear the questions.
Okay. So what we have, this one I believe is coming from, if I can find it, from YouTube. Jonathan Manitooth, let me know if you're coming from YouTube because I could not find your question on Facebook. He is asking recommended tire pressure for front and back for street driving.
I mean, the recommended tire pressure is, look inside the door panel. I mean, that's the best way to do it. You look inside the door panel, it's going to give you the recommended tire pressures for the street. Certainly tire pressures for the track are a lot different. Yeah, I mean, that's the best way to do it because every manufacturer is going to have different recommended tire pressures. And then if you really want to get technical and really get them tiled in, I wrote, there's the article I wrote a few years back that's still pretty popular in Turnology on the tire temperatures, taking tire temperatures for the track. And you can actually even do that for the street. I mean, you can run around on the street and then do a quick tire temperature check, and you can tell how your pressures are, if they're good or bad. So we'll put up the link to the tire temperature.
Yeah, and it's also in the Speed Therapy Society. So join the Speed Therapy Society Facebook page.
Yeah, Speed Therapy Society Facebook page.
It's actually a
group. I'm the car guy. Okay, can you tell that?
Okay, ready for your next one?
Yep.
Jim Flattery with a non-vented hood. Will removing the hood insulation help with engine cooling? He has a GT 500, I believe.
Yeah, will removing the insulation help with engine cooling? I would say probably not. What it would do is it put more heat into the hood. Maybe that would help with the cooling, but the hood will get pretty hot. You really need to have a vetted hood. What kind of car is it?
GT 500.
GT.
Jim.
No, yeah. What year is it?
I think it's 13, 14, something like 12. It's after 10.
Okay, I think all the GT 500s have some little vents in them. My recommendation is make them bigger. Make sure they're open and make the vents bigger. If you don't want to invest in a vented fiberglass or carbon hood, but taking the insulation off, it's a tough question because the thermal qualities are going to migrate into the hood. The hood will get hotter, so I guess in some sense, it would help with the temperature, but not in a big way. Hood vents are the only real solution.
We have some hood vents if you need them, I think.
We have some hood vents?
Yeah, I think so. Okay, well, if you say we don't, then we don't.
Well, I mean, are you talking about like the vents we put on George's car?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay. Now I know what you're talking about. We have access to some carbon vents. They're pretty nice when we can get them. I mean, there are certain times of year we can't get them because they're so popular. But what we did on George's 2001 Cobra, that's a CSR. It's a wicked fast car. He had a the GT 500 hood with had the two little swoops in it. What we did is we cut those out and we put the fiberglass or the carbon vents in there and turned it into a vented hood, which is really cool. That car's for sale, by the way. If anybody wants an amazing SN95 Cobra, this is it. And it's a Kenny Brown serialized. It went through two. We built it in maybe 04 or 05, and then we went through it again in 10. He put big motor in it. I mean, it's like a 5.0 or 5.2, all the good stuff, supercharged, like 700 horsepower, and it's got full suspension, aero. I mean, I would say he's got well over $90,000 invested in the car, and he wants me to build him a new S550 track car, because he decided that he's to the point where he doesn't want a trailer anymore. He just wants to drive the track and drive back. But the problem is, his wife said if he brings another Mustang home without getting rid of one of the cars he has, he will be sleeping in it. So we're trying to help him sell it. It's he's asking like 35 grand for it. The engine almost cost that much. So if anybody knows anybody would be interested in a really, really, really nice 2001, brilliantly fast Kenny Brown Cobra, let us know. We'll get some information to you. Maybe we just put some information in society.
Yeah, we can do that.
We can do that. Yeah, because it's a cool car. Okay.
Okay, ready?
Also, you can see the hood vents that I'm talking about.
Yeah. Okay, Wendy, power to weight is great for drag racing and straight acceleration. What about weight for cornering and braking? Is that a big subject?
Yeah, that's good. Weight for cornering and braking. Okay, weight. In a race car or a track car, weight is your enemy. The more weight you have, the more energy it takes to push that weight. You've only got so much energy. The more weight you get, the slower you're going to be. So weight is really important in two specific areas. First is braking. Let's say S197, like a Boss Mustang versus a GT500. Because there's so much extra, you look at the weight of the cars, there's so much extra front weight in the GT500 versus the Boss, that when it comes to braking, you got more mass to slow down, and it's going to make the nose dive. Well, we kind of fixed that with our front grip kit. We put a lot of anti-dive in it so it doesn't dive so much, and anti-lift in the back so it doesn't raise up. But even so, with less weight on the nose, the GT is going to brake a lot later. And also, as far as rotating the car, getting around the corner, if both cars had our Gen 4 suspension, the GT would still be quicker in rotation because it doesn't have as much weight on the nose. GT500 would be just a little bit more sluggish to get the rotation around. And then getting off the corner, obviously, the lighter car is going to get up the corner quicker because it's not going to spin the wheels because of torque. So yeah, weight is a big deal in track cars and motorsports. And Mustangs they're front end heavy. Which always is a challenge. I mean, theoretically they're drag race cars. Big motor in the front, live axle in the back. Straight line speed is their strength, which is when I did the AGS 4.0 for the 197s, I specifically engineered them around the strengths and weaknesses. Strength is straight line speed. I mean, they're a drag race car, straight line. So the first part of that is with the anti-dive we put in the front, the anti-lift in the back. The cars will brake much, much later than a normal car, like a lot later. But by being able to brake 2, 3, 4 car lengths later, you just made that straightaway longer. And with the geometry I have in the front, I mean, you turn the wheel and the car just turns. I think Wendy made a comment a couple of weeks back that she's got both front and rear, and it's like her car pivots, which is, you've driven just a stock Mustang around the corner. They don't do that. So by getting this to rotate quick, and then you can get back to the power sooner because, the roll centers, front roll center up, rear roll center down. You can get back to the power sooner. You don't have to wait as long for the axle to settle. So coming off the corner, you're getting the gas sooner. So you're actually making the next straightaway longer. So by late braking, I made the first straightaway longer. By quick rotation, I made the corner shorter. And then by getting back to the gas sooner, I made the next straightaway longer. So, I mean, that's the problem with the Mustang. And that's kind of how I approached the geometry for the S197. But weight is a big thing. I mean, you take weight off. That's why like carbon hoods are such a good thing on a Mustang. They not only take weight up, they take weight up high. And weight high is, you think about tipping over and taking out weight high is a good thing. So.
Okay, we have some more power to weight questions. First of all, Dave Robinson shared that he has his 2014 V6, 3,500 pounds, 307 horsepower. It comes out to 11.4. Is that correct?
Well, I don't have my calculator.
Okay.
But yeah, you just divide the horsepower into the weight.
Yeah, that's not too bad. And Chris Melitu has a couple of questions. His is, are you calculating the rear horsepower or engine horsepower? That's a good question.
So it's engine horsepower.
Okay.
And just a note for Chris, the patent has been filed.
We're in production.
And we're starting to do the first production run. So Chris will know what that means, and you'll all know what it means in a couple of weeks.
And then Chris also has a question. So he's calculating his horsepower. And so I think you should explain how to calculate the power to weight ratio. He says, my Shelby's 3,800 with 763. Would that be 5 then? If that divides out?
Yeah, you just divide the power into the weight.
That's really good.
Yeah, well, his car is really, really fast.
Yeah.
And he's got a full suspension, and he's getting an update in the next month or so.
Yeah. So that was his question. So again, if you can explain how you figure the power to weight.
Yeah, it's just the horsepower in the weight. Because what you're looking at is how much horsepower does it take to push 1 pound, or how much horsepower is pushing how much weight of the car.
Okay, Wendy says to stop teasing her. Stop teasing everybody with your thing. Okay, also Wendy has another question. What is good to take out high? What is good to take out high to reduce weight? What is good to take out to reduce weight on your car?
I mean, the hood is one thing. Wood is high and heavy. Mustang hoods are big and they weigh a lot. I mean, that takes maybe 20, 30 pounds up high in the car. Aside from that, I mean, you just have to start, depending if it's a street car or track car, you just have to start looking at, what's above the belt line that you don't need, and you can throw it out. But the hood and the rear deck lid too are both things you can take off weight. But in a Mustang, if you make the rear lighter, you want to make the front lighter, not the rear lighter.
So, and then James Donas, sorry about that. I'm still probably butchering your name. James has a question.
James is good.
Yeah. Adding to Wendy's question about weight, good to move the battery to the rear?
Actually, yes.
That's a really good question.
And that's a subject that will come up in talking about the Cobras. On all our serious track cars, we move the battery to the right rear and low. And the reason for that is when we scale cars, the right rear of the Mustang is always the lightest part of the car. So moving the battery to the back is always a good thing. And then I can't remember what the gauge is, but you want to use the smallest gauge battery cables that there is. And you don't want to run 2 cables. You only want to run the positive cable from the back of the car to the front, and you want the negative to be grounded in the back. And the reason for that is the cable weighs a lot. And I can't remember what the gauges is, but a couple of different sizes. And you don't need a super big one because that's extra weight. So,
okay, if anybody has any other questions, feel free to add them. And let's see, we have. He also has is a Tiger Racing hood carbon or fiberglass?
Okay, the Tiger hoods. That's kind of story behind those. The Tiger hoods were actually developed by my late son, Paul. He developed it on the SN95 cars, and he carried it over to the S197s. And the story behind that is that Ford Racing was testing, I think it was a Groton, a prototype for the Boss S, the 302 Boss S. And Paul showed up with one of his hoods, and they did just a back-to-back test. All they did in the car is they just put the hood on, the vented hood. It was carbon, and the car picked up as big. It was like 1 or 2 seconds lap time. And the reason for that, vented hoods do 2 really important things. First of all, they let that heat out the top. If you don't have a vented hood, you get all that heat in the engine compartment, and it's going to go down and out. Because you got it coming through the radiator into the engine compartment. It's hot. It goes down and out. Part of the problem with that is as it goes down, you're actually building pressure under the nose of the car. Now, when you have a vented hood, a lot of that goes out the top, which means if it's going out the top, you're reducing pressure on the nose, It just makes the car turn better. I mean, you have much better front grip. So that's how the Tiger hood came into be on the Boss S, and so popular with everything else. Also, he was very instrumental in the development of the G-Stream wing that I think is out of production now. But that was a great product. So I got lost. What was the original question?
We were talking about the Tiger. Is it carbon or fiberglass?
Okay, they had both carbon and fiberglass. After he passed away, his wife kind of got weird about the whole Tiger thing, and then she passed away a few years later, and so that whole thing got shut down. But we have some friends that are actually building similar hoods to the Tiger. I mean, it's like not exact, but pretty darn close. So I mean, we can still get them if anybody's interested. But I think they do both carbon and fiberglass. Either one's going to be lighter than the factory hood.
Okay, we're going to get back on batteries now. Chris said he changes battery, and his older one is 36 pounds, and this one is 9.
Yeah, Chris told me about that. He got like the super duper, super lightweight battery. He went from 36 pounds and 9-pound battery. He didn't tell me how much it cost. I can just imagine what it cost.
And it's anti-gravity battery.
It's anti-gravity battery. I guess that means it maybe floats on its own in the back of the car. But anyway, I'm sure that just cost a bundle. And
Del Hughes said that he went to a small dry cell battery and it only weighs 8 pounds. Chris, you're a pound over. Oh my goodness.
Okay. It looks like Del is the weight champion on batteries.
Let's see.
Yeah, and if you go to a small battery, just be sure it's got enough cold cranking power to start your engine either when it's cold or when it's hot. Sometimes starting engines when they're hot is almost more challenged than starting them when it's cold.
Okay, Wendy has an interesting comment on the hoods. She said this past weekend she was at Dominion, and she had a friend in a WRX that had a vented hood, and he said he could actually feel the car generating more downforce.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, just imagine all that air rushing through the radiator. And it's going into the engine compartment. It's kind of getting all bunched up. It's like, okay, what are we doing in here? And they got to sneak at the bottom. Or if they can go in there and just go right at the top. I mean, then you're not building up that pressure on the nose. If you got enough vents, you can almost turn into negative pressure, which holds the nose down. So, yeah, I mean, vented hoods are great. We put them on just about everything.
Okay, and we're going to pass a few notes now, and if anybody has any other questions, this is the time to get them out. Otherwise, we are going to talk about the Cobra workshop that's coming up. If you want to, do you want to mention it again, or what?
Okay.
Or do you want me to?
My director, producer, Hammer says I should mention the workshop again. Okay, the workshop, I was going to do kind of like an IRS thing today, but in going through the questions that we got through the society, which I answered earlier, it just made me think that, there's more to it than my original. What I was originally going to do is just go through the builder notes for the CSROT. But I mean, as I said, there's a lot more to it than that. And I wanted to throw in some other cars like Hermie and the 2000 Cobra Rs. And I wanted to do it in a better format than through Facebook on a Saturday morning. So it's going to be, it's called a class for all practical purposes on Wednesday evening, the 14th. Mm-hmm. It's going to be on Zoom. And if you don't know what Zoom is, 6 months ago, I had no idea what Zoom is. Now it's kind of like we can't live without it. So it's going to be on Zoom. So it's going to be more personal. Everybody's going to be involved.
So you have to register, and I just put the registration link up. It's also going to be on our website. And if you're a newsletter subscriber, you'll get a newsletter newsletter on it, and of course we'll probably put it out on Facebook and in the Speed Therapy Society. So wherever you go, you'll see it. If you're a Cobra owner,
and what happens is you will get an email with a link, a Zoom link that you just kind of click on, and boom, you're in the what they call it, Zoom.
It's just a Zoom meeting.
Zoom meeting.
Zoom room.
Zoom room.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. You're in the Zoom room.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a little more. So like I say, it's Wednesday night is usually where we have master class for every other Wednesday. We have master class in the Speed Therapy Academy. And the next week we're not having a master class, so I guess I'm doing sort of a master class for everybody on the IRS Cobras,
And then
and also Fox Mustangs with IRS in the back.
Yeah. And after he does the Cobra class, we're going to be scheduling an S197 class and an S550 class. So it'll probably be maybe one a month, one every 6 weeks. So if you don't own a Cobra and you have an S197 or a S550, stay tuned.
Yeah, and in essence, I'm going to go through. Just turn the light off.
Okay, go ahead.
Clumsy feet. What was I talking about?
I don't remember, but we're dragging on too long on this. So anyway, so join us.
I know what I was talking about. And what I'm doing is I go through the cars, the strengths, the weaknesses, and just how I build a great car. And I'm sure other people have a different philosophy. My philosophy I've developed over a lot of years of doing this. And I explain the hows and whys, and the end result is I want a great handling car. Because to me, a car has to really drive. It has to really drive and really feel well. There's nothing that's better, puts a bigger smile on my face than a car that really handles well on track. You can brakes hard, and going around the corner, you really feel the car digging in, feel the G's in your butt. I just love that. So, that's why it's kind of like I build all the cars I build for myself because I love to drive cars. And I explain the whole philosophy and the ins and outs, why I do things. So that, if you like my philosophy, you can follow along and build your own really cool killer car.
And I think that is it. Oh, Brian West said, do you have academy people have to register? Yes, Brian, the link is different than the academy Zoom link. So yes, you would have to register.
Yeah. The academy is a 12-week course, and we're in week 8 now. Yeah. And I think it's turning out. I did a workshop earlier that was really popular, transforming your driving experience. And from that, we developed the Speed Therapy Academy, which is a 12-week course. It's a paid course, but I take every subject and we really drill down. Again, it's Zoom, so people are participating. It's just like we're in a classroom. So Carrie is talking about maybe doing another Transforming Your Driving Experience workshop in November.
November.
And then doing another academy starting after the first of the year. So we'll keep you tuned.
It's people in the academy just are really enjoying it. You're giving a lot of valuable information. So anyway, I think you can do your little spiel. If you guys can give us some likes, that would be helpful. Yeah, little thumbs up.
The thumbs up, and for people that are new, we had kind of a problem with Facebook. There's supposed to be little wrenches that float up along with the thumbs up, but it seems like they got hot and melted, and they look like a heart. So they're really not a heart. They're kind of like a heart-shaped wrench. So be sure to send up some wrenches for us too.
And we'll see. Oh, there they come. Do you see them?
Oh, no, I can't see them.
Oh, okay.
Way to go.
Okay, cool.
So, okay, we're actually going to wrap up on time.
Yeah.
For a change. I have no idea what we're going to talk about next week.
Do you have any ideas?
If you have any ideas, what would you like to talk about? Speed therapy, society. Send in your questions. Tell me what you want to learn about, because again, what I talk about, what you guys want to know about. So as of right now, I have no subject for next week. Send me some ideas, and we'll work that in. And that's it. It's turning into a chilly time of the year here in Indianapolis.
Go ahead.
Anyway, I don't know where you guys are, but I think summer's over. So it's time to start thinking about what we're going to do over the winter. We got a number of cars coming in. We're going to really do some cool updates on. Chris Meltu is one of them. And then Cliff, I don't know if he's here today. Cliff's car's coming in. So we've got some, probably in the next month, we're going to have an announcement. I mentioned that I told Chris that the patent's been filed, and he knows what that's all about. But you guys will know in a few weeks when we get a little little start into production. So with that, have a good weekend, everybody. And we'll see you next week. And remember to keep the sunny. Okay, back up. Okay, remember to keep the shiny side up. There, got it out. So we'll go. Have a good weekend. We'll see you all next week.